Fear is a liar. You guys have cover art on my personal page. You've seen it on the fan page. Seems like a simple enough platitude. There is a much deeper meaning behind this phrase, and it is much more important platitude. Rest assured, worlds, this entire sermon is going to deal with fear, implications, its refutations, and the way that it works on each of us as a liar, as a deception, as a tool of deception, both on a personal level, a social level, and eventually a cultural level. On a personal level, fear is what keeps people trapped in their own heads, in fits of anxiety, in lies, in myths, self-limiting myths of being good enough, self-limiting of not living up to people's perceptions, self-limiting of own limitations, remain trapped in prisons of their own head. Fear, liar, is driving more people to suicide. Fear of what lies ahead in an uncertain life, in an uncertain future. On a political, on a social bent, on a cultural fear of what lies ahead, that self-limiting fear of being unable to face it is leading to people take their own lives in numbers that we haven't seen since the dark is, even as we live one of the most prosperous moments in human history. Fear on a social level is what in things like the murder of Kitty Genovese. 36 saw the murder, didn't call the police. Some witness accounts say that it was twice that much. No one intervened. No one called for intervention from outside. She died horribly because of the fear of other people to put their own lives on the line, or to even get involved as a witness. Is what enables a sawed-off body like Albert de Salvo, the boss strangler, who we will be deep later on in this sermon, to rack up an official body as many as 13, and an unofficial count was as 3 times that number. All the people's reluctance to intervene, but primarily because of his intended victims' unwillingness to resist. And on a cultural level, fear is what drives social contagions and mass formation psychosis. Fear is what enables the most specious of excuses, driven by a plum of propaganda to render otherwise intelligent people into behaving like herd animals, both for fear the specious grounds presented to them, but more point, for the fear of being perceived as being outside the aforementioned herd. Fear on a cultural level is what drives entire cultures or sets of people within those cultures to stay in prison of their own making, for fear of stepping outside the socially acceptable boundaries, or some big interpretation of what the law and consequences might bring, and fear ultimately what drives otherwise evolved societies to totalitarianism. How did a culturally advanced people like the Germans in the 1930s get brought to totalitarianism? How was as proud and as ancient as the Chinese brought to communism Mao? Steady increment increases of fear. The thing that we have to remember is another one of those that's going to come off like a simple attitude. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Again, seems like a simple platitude. It's a rule for living, because everything you want is on the other side of the fear that limits you. Think of all the people you've ever crossed paths in your life with. Know to be gifted, who you know to be strong, who you know to be intelligent, nevertheless live their entire lives in utter mediocrity and obscurity. Why? They are afraid to take that leap to claim their greatness. When you feel imprisoned by that fear, for my brothers and sisters in Christ, I want you to remember this: God will for a reason, and for my brothers and sisters on a secular path, remember that you came to an awakening for a reason. Something in you did not let you be bound. Fear, and you to honor that. You know, it's a grand tradition, as is thought of in the West, a tradition of fearlessness, a tradition of rising above. And remember that tradition is not worship of ashes. It is preservation of fire. Do these men look full to you? Bet everything that you're worth that every single one of them felt that bite of fear. All of them, with the possible exception of the few of the most religiously zealous, the cold bite of fear. Why? Because they were charging into the of the Saracens. Why? Because they were standing at walls of Jerusalem, watching stones fall, crumble, and they knew that the that awaited them at the hands of Saracens was brutal, torturous, and ultimately would result in their death. But in that proud tradition of the West, they stepped through to the other side. They did what was required of them. Not because they didn't feel the fear, but because they knew that there was a greater truth that lay on the other side of it. You guys have heard me say this a million times before. We are in a perpetual race between enlightenment and catastrophe. It may well take catastrophe to bring us to enlightenment. That is a fact that shines some fear. At least should incite apprehension. But if we reach down deep and think of truth and the enlightenment that lies on the other side, remember how I finished this statement, is to be, lo, may it come quickly. May it happen in our time. May we be the ones to face it. Because final analysis, what do we really have to fear? The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own, and no one else is on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not some supporters, doctors, and now that I'm about 2 weeks away from another one, certainly employers. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind. They're guaranteed to stretch open that reluctance. Want it or not, choke you with a throbbing of truth cock. Welcome back, boys. It is time once again for today's sermon. If we got echo, man, we're just gonna have to run with it. Yep. Just gonna have to run with it, man. Made 2 attempts at it. Whatever the problem is, it's not happening. Drum roll. In your headroom, all right. Yeah, we'll run with it. I don't know how bad it is, man. I really. Yeah, very funny. Okay, man, we've already run through it. Brother Sunday is coming out. We've got the original Sinner Citadel, Miss with the echo. Subtitles are interesting. All right. Well, I'm just going to pretend that I'm listening to sermon at Red Rock Camp Theater. That one way to work with it. We're just going to practice. You know, listen. If the whole thing is to operate independent of fear, that's going to push on fearlessly through this damn thing, there's no way to correct. I mean, at this point, We're just gonna have to run it. It's better than some. Okay, we'll roll with it then. We're gonna go with it, man. We're just going with it. Ah, look at that. My buddy Jeff Truitt saying, "Smile, the brother Sonny." Yes, we got Ida and we've got Deacon Mark, and I'm glad you guys are still hanging out. Roll call before, man. So we got Roman and Allie, and we got Rome Terry. You know about Allie and Debbie, beautiful women over Opium Tales. We'll go ahead and get that shout out that way. Since we're running late on the actual entry time. Not too worried about it, man. It does kind of bug me because I really felt like the opening was like on. It was like on. But whatever, man. It's what it is. We're just gonna go ahead and press through it. Bumper music as usual. Red Desert, stomping rock and roll band from the smoldering embers and ruins of North Green City, Minnesota. It is Red Desert, the name of the track. Older, no wiser. Every week, a little bit older. Every week, you guys get to see if I've got any quiet. I think this is going to be one of those weeks, and this entire sermon is going to deal with fear in one way or another. Now, I'm exhibiting a amount of fearlessness, just being down here on the level of the Bard Bunker, the command center level of the Bard Bunker. We're just going to go ahead and fade that bumper music out, get it on out of the way. Once again, man, big shout outs and thank you to Resort for letting us use that as bumper music with copyright. Those guys have been really cool in letting us do that. I think it's off the track, man. I really do. And you should check them out on Spotify or whatever music platform you like to your music from. Now bumper music down. And again, I'm trying to control my voice level because I thought that might that may have been getting a little bit of the echo. I don't know how bad it is. If you guys could give me periodics if it's getting better or worse. Not a lot we can do. I'm running off the microphone and phone and the camera that we've used, and we did shut it down and start it all over again. So I guess you're just gonna roll with it. Brother Tommy, peace be with you. And I was going to say, this is we are on the command bunker. There are a couple of people here been here to the bunker, and you've seen this young lady has the inside of the bunker. Let me see. Actually, I'm trying to. They're really not, but hopefully you got on here that have actually seen the full width and breadth of the bunker. Brother Sonny has been here, seen it, so he knows where the command center level is in the grand scheme of things. And Brother Tom has actually been here and seen where the command center level was as opposed to the bunker level bunker. And it's cold. I'm just gonna say that it's really freaking cold right now. It is 6 outside, and bordering on. As soon as the sun goes down, which it does here at about right about now on Pacific time, sun should be going down. As soon as the sun dips below the horizon, we are going to be dealing with zero. Flat out, like the sun dips down, it's going to drop to zero, and then once the wind kicks in evening, we're going to be well in negatives. We got down to wind chill and everything. I think was like negative 30. I took the military blazer, that 6.2 diesel, and pulled it into the garage, and I've got there running a heater blanket with a blanket and moving blanket on top of that to block from cracking. It's freaking cold. I'm not even gonna lie, you guys notice an extra layer of clothing on. Normally I just run the USMC frog gear in the tank top. Let me see. Wind chill is here low teens now in Texas. Wow. Good Lord. Low teens in Texas. That is the thing, and it's just cultural differences. You guys can't deal with cold. We can't heat. If it gets above, literally, if it gets above 85 degrees, they usually have at least 2 or 3 holidays over in Seattle, because a lot of those places don't have air conditioners. It's just not something that was thought of when the buildings are being put together. And we would not know what to do. Hurricane. But the Texans, oddly enough, know what to do, particularly in Texas where sunny is. You guys got to deal with wildfires. We with nothing on a hurricane. I was here back in 2015. Sonny, better bring your illegals in tonight so they don't freeze. Actually, I think if there are any illegals on that property, they're probably buried deeply enough that they're in danger of freezing. But that's me. What did you? Texas weather is being disrespectful. Listen, you and Deacon Mark, and Sonny try to stay warm as best you can. We are dug in and ready for it here. But even with all the preparations, and it happens like this every year, it's freaking cold, man. It's really freaking cold. Charlotte up that there is a possibility that maybe the freeze has something to do with the lines carrying the internet signal. That's entirely possible. I really don't know. I'm hoping that the echo is at least better than it was on that first, because on that first take it was pretty brutal. Guys, Iron Infidel, they do not sponsor the program, but they make a really good product. So I like to shout out. This is the bottle. You got a half gallon Liquid Enthusiasm, and if you're not looking to carry a big gym bag around, it's got a spot for your phone and a spot for your wallet and a tap to hang your keys, so you can just throw your favorite beverage here, take it off to the gym, or do podcast echo problems, and it still works out. Sponsor shout outs, of course, Roman. It's lovely from opiumtales.com, and Roxy and the bevy of beautiful models. There's phenomenal watercolors and testosterone driven commentary. Book is out on Amazon. Where does my chief? Where the hell? Yeah, his book is available on Amazon, From Dork to Pimp Daddy. It's his journey as a commercial artist. You going from basically a nobody, and that's no disparaging way to refer to my buddy Roman, because he's one of my oldest and dearest friends. You guys met him several. He was my first remote guest on the podcast. But going from basically a nobody, and now he has gorgeous women, and I have seen some of these women, and they actually pay him for the privilege of sitting in front of him naked for periods of time, with no exchange of bodily fluids. Now, granted, some of you here may say that that's a bad commercial arrangement, but it works out really well for Roman. Again, from Daddy, that is from Roman Rivas, his nom de plume. Nom de plume. Am I really going French here? Clem, are you here? Not really. I mean, you're like, I can't do the nasal. I can't do it. It's his pen name. There you go. That is my brother Truett. He hates Roman now. Also, Jeff. A lot of people hate me for that reason. In case, I want you guys to support Roman in all of his efforts. Buy the book. Go check out the site at opiumtales.com and check out some of his work. Also, my Viking brothers, Tellison at Nordic Smoke Barbecue, only barbecue in the inland Northwest. Period. End of statement. Done. By the way, Rev, what's that? Check your email. Let me know if you received a list. I will do that as soon as we get wrapped up here. I will definitely do. Casey and Dusty Tellison, Nordic Barbecue, the only legit in the Inland Northwest. I have been in touch with Dusty. The big freeze kicked off. Dusty is about 40 minutes down the road in the little Spangle, which is out in the Hinterboonies. He's not as far out as Moses. By the way, Moses, Mo Baxter, you guys know, it's been a while. Mo does not like the spotlight. Mo likes out of the spotlight. He's the guy. It's like he will come in for me when I have a Facebook ban, and he will just kind of keep my presence on that, and he gives me 9 miles of grief every time. But he is up in Montana, in an undisclosed location. He was specific about that. Undisclosed location, probably 40 miles from Troy, Montana. and they are in negative 40, right? And during the day, they haven't gotten up to Sarah Weaver, who you guys know is a friend of mine. She is over in the Kalispell, Whitefish, and they are in negative 40 at night, and they haven't even gotten up to zero in the day. These are hard freezes, man. Hard freezes. I was, because of a quirk of circumstances, I was nicely played, sir. Nicely played. Because of a quirk of circumstances, I was in Texas during the much hard freeze back in 2021, and again, it was interesting watching all these guys with the about your penis, 12-foot jacked up pickup trucks off in ditches and pulled it into guardrail things like that. I'm driving around in my little super speeding wagon, like, sorry. But yeah, it's serious up here, man. It's very, very, very serious. You can die. Like, you die in a couple of hours out here if you're caught outside without any kind of shelter, and even wearing the proper clothing. But God forbid you're caught in the proper clothing, you can die in a couple of hours out here in this kind of. A lot of people have never experienced that before. It's hard for them to really process that. It's funny because Jeff was what Jeff was saying. I hate Roman. Also, there's a reason for that, Roman. Hated me forever. You guys that have been around, I'm in the strip club business for a very, very, very long time, and as a result of that, I was constantly surrounded by beautiful women, usually naked. The women that I have, I mean, Jeff has known me since I was in middle school, right? And remembers that during middle school and high school, I really, it wouldn't, I was not a big hit with the ladies, shall we say. But in my adult life, I have constantly been, and as a result of that occupation, surrounded by beautiful women, and the mate in my adult life that he has met have both been very, very, very beautiful women. He was around when I was my ex, Melanie, and dude, look, let's just call it, Melanie and I had our problems, but she was drop dead freaking, and of course, who is stone cold beautiful and superb, and I could see why a person would hate me. You should, actually, because I'm definitely nothing to look at. Definitely nothing to look at. but yet I've been blessed to be surrounded. Yeah. You could say that. You could say that about Rita. I wasn't gonna bring Rita up, man. I really wasn't. Rita was high school sweetheart, mother. You guys can do the math on that. First wife, and Rita was gorgeous, dude. She really was. She hasn't aged, and I don't mind saying that publicly because the star dynamic. She actually lost Jeff. I don't know if you knew that she lost her index finger in a blender incident. Yeah, dude, true story, man. She lost her finger in a blender incident, and right. Oh yeah. Roman actually knew Rita. Rita was cute, not just be cute when I met her. Yeah, she's very pretty, very. Anyway, Jeff, you'll get a kick out of this because she lost her index finger in a blender, and Alex posted about it publicly. It was like, well, good thing it was the index finger, because if it would have taken her middle finger, you stolen half her vocabulary. She did not. she did not react well to that. But yeah, I've been very blessed. I've been very blessed because and I don't know why. Tommy, I'm glad you made it out. I don't know why. It's it's clearly not for my look, and they're definitely not staying for money or the charm. So I'll let you guys process that, man. I'm going with sense of humor. All right, for the I'm not not patting my package here, thing like that. But I'm going to go with sense of that's. or maybe God did to favor me. I don't know. Oh, in case, hopefully Ryan is hanging out because we are going to go to our first segment, which is of ladies and gentlemen, when we are talking about Ryan's rabbit hole. Can everybody hear the applause, or is that echoing too? Thank you. Yeah, hold on, man. Hey, see you. Yeah. Ryan's rabbit hole, ladies and gentlemen. Popular segment that we do every week. Thank you. All right, guys, settle down. Go, guys, settle down. Settle. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Yeah, that's our studio audience. Anyway, Ryan's rabbit hole. It is a segment that we started doing back when I was in Nebraska, a long time ago, working on the wind farm with Ryan. Let me see. You need to key echo for the rabbit hole. Still fun, man. Yeah, I'm sorry. We'll be away from the chat when it's ready, but still listening while we'll chat. Hey guys, sorry about the echo. I appreciate us hanging out. I really don't know what's going on with that, man. I really have no idea. We could go to the settings again. I mean, I'll go to the audio sets, and you guys can tell. Let me see. I'm just gonna. Okay, I'll shut all of that off. If any of that fixed it. But I'm thinking probably not. Hopefully it didn't make it worse. Ryan's hole this week. One of the things that Ryan and I bonded over early on in our friendship was our propensity repositories of useless information. That's right. We are murder. Now I've lost volume. Okay, well, we'll try that. Let me see settings. Audio. Automatically adjust mic volume. Reduce mic back. Echo cancellation. Okay. So you know what? Let's try this. See if that actually made it worse or better or whatever you'd say. There we go. Do we have any now? Do we have volume? Are we looking good? Or are we good? Guys, I'm going to plow through it regardless, and I don't expect y'all to hang out at this point. It's probably just an exercise in vanity for me, but I want to try washing your hair. Yeah, very funny, Joey. Funny. Appreciate that. Fun like a sore testicle. Volume is about out of 10. All right, then. We'll go back to audio. Echo cancellation. Reduce background noise. Automatically adjust my mic volume. There we go. How about that? That's got a little bit better. And now we're gonna get the echo. Hell with it, man. Hell with it. We're plowing through. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Our rabbit hole sometimes lines up with our rabbit hole sometimes lines up with the things that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the sermon. Sometimes it does, sometimes, but regardless, it's there to take you outside of your comfort zone and outside areas of knowledge and introduce you to an historical figure or a person to whom might have been very little previously exposed to a phenomenon that you might not be familiar with, a really obscure scientific theory. That's Ryan's house, and he really enjoys making me work for it when those things. So that's always fun. Sometimes we go historical. Sometimes we go esoteric. Sometimes we go conspiratorial. This week we are going for a nice little piece of history, Civil War history, no less. Your rabbit hole is going to William T. Anderson. That's right, girls. William T. Anderson, the most famous Confederate guerrilla soldier, arguably of all time, also known colloquially as Bloody Bill. For you guys down in Texas, you will be happy to know that during the year 1863, spent some time in a little town called Sherman down there in Texas. Him and his men at that point. He originally was Quantrill's Raiders. Quantrill was a Confederate, what's called bushwhacker. Bushwhacker is a nice way of what would be a bushwhacker. They would call them deplorables. They would them I don't know, extremists maybe butchers, murderers. They the left, of course, the forces of the regime would call them all of the things that Trump will essentially call right now. Even though the Civil War is still a war right now and has not come to an actual shooting war, and pray to God that it not come to that. I'm abundantly clear on that. Anyone who is looking forward to the prospect of armed conflict, of course, not shirk our duty. Of course, we will not be cowards if the time comes. But anyone who is actually looking forward to that is a disturbed individual who is shunned and avoided. Straight up. You boogaloo with your Hawaiian shirts, take that home. We've got no room for that. I break no with you. I make no peace with William T. Anderson, Confederate guerrilla, and basically as a result of his bushwhacking. And when they say bushwhacking is a little derogatory term for guerrilla tactics. The reason why people use guerrilla tactics, and then this is his history. It is the reason why the colonists used it against the British. It is the reason why Confederates used it against the Union. When you have superior numbers, superior logistics, superior firepower, you are not going to be able to engage in symmetrical warfare. You have to exercise symmetrical warfare. Che Guevara, may he burn in hell, his communist, murderous, rapist, blackened soul was very skilled at asymmetrical warfare. Nobody is without their good points. He was an evil piece of human debris, but he was extremely and exceedingly skilled at exercising asymmetrical warfare. And when you are such a numerical and logistical disadvantage, and you're exercising asymmetrical warfare, your tactics have to be brutal. They have to be brutal. They have to be dirty. That old concept of a fair fight. The only fair fight is the one that you win. If you find yourself in a fair fight, your tact probably suck. And I'm sure that Sonny and Tom will be on that. In any case, Quantrill's Raiders, led by William Quantrill, they were bushwhackers, which is a nice way of saying they were a very effective unit. They took advantage of the terrain. They took every advantage of hit and run raids, every advantage of cover of night and cover of trees, while Union forces were wanting to fight old school style, basically the old Euro style, big long lines of riflemen with artillery lobbing over the top. These guys sneak into your camp at night and cut your throat. They would go into villages which were supply depots for Union troops, and they burn those villages to the ground. This is how asymmetric warfare is conducted. Quantrill's were very prolific and very successful at these efforts. Anderson, after joining Quantrill Raiders, became golden child of the Quantrill, of William Quantrill's. Anderson was brutal in a subset of already brutal people. He was the darkest of the dark. But if you needed some dead, if you needed a supply depot burned, you hand off to Bloody Bill. That is how he earned his reputation. That is how he earned his nickname. Eventually, the Union did again asymmetric warfare. The more powerful force in the battle is always going to utilize the things they have at your disposal. They are going to hit in a way that is going to be personal. And what they did was they sent two of Bloody Bill's sisters. Uh, while they were imprisoned, there was a fire in the jail. Some saying that it was an accident, but you can make a case that the jail that they were being held in intentionally torched by youth forces who had it out for Bloody Bill. And in the collapse and burning of thing, one of Bill's sisters was killed outright, and another sister was maimed horribly. You can being in a wood and stone framed jail, and having it burn down around you, you can imagine the injuries. It's a horrible thing to contemplate. And in any case, Bill was out for revenge. You already have a man who is so devoted against the cause of the Union that he is fighting in what is essentially every day is a suicide mission, and fighting against those enormous odds. And now he got nothing to lose. You've killed of his family. What do you think is in there? Bill got infinitely more bloody, and he operated. Quantrill and his gang operated within all of the Missouri, and Kansas territories, and primarily operated in Kansas. But I'm not gonna do the spoiler alert thing for you. That's as far as I'm gonna take it. But I want you to look into. I want you to look into William Anderson, Bill Anderson. There's a search term. William Quantrill. There's and Quantrill's Raiders would be another term for you there. The one that I really want you to get into is Bleeding Kansas. Bleeding Kansas. I want you guys to look at that. I want you guys to examine, and the reason why we're down this rabbit hole, it is of course there's all the historical cliches. His history is written, yada yada yada. One man's terrorist is another man's fighter. All these things, and you make a case for any of this stuff. One of the things that Anderson and his men did that no other group of Confederate guerrillas, and it was heard of, wouldn't have even thought that a group of guerrillas could do this. But they took a look at all the robberies that were going on further west, and they thought, if the guys on horseback can seize a train, we can seize a train. And sure enough, the low-life bushwhackers that the Union generally as pests to be dealt with, things like bugs, managed to see a passenger train Union soldiers. You can imagine what happened. They were very successful because they had nothing to lose. And it does kind of tie in with the purpose of the rest of the sermon here, right? At some point, fear was not a deterrent. The superior numbers of the Union forces were not enough to instill fear to put that down. The fact of near-death encounters with those Union forces being a daily event for these people isn't enough, because some things are more important than fear. Do you think that William Quantrill never felt fear? Do you think Bloody Bill Anderson never felt fear? Do you think that when Bloody Bill undertook that effort, never been done before, never been done by a group of bushwhackers, to seize control of a train carrying Union troops, all of whom may or may not be armed? He didn't know. He didn't know what the hell he'd be. You think he didn't feel fear going into that? There was something more important to him. Was it love of the Confederacy? Was it hate? Such a deep-seated hate Union that had killed one of his sisters and maimed another. I think the larger point is, you can be outgunned. You can be up against the force that has all logistics of the situation on their side. You can be up against that by all indications, that by any objective outside observer, the odds are overwhelmingly in their favor, and you have nothing to gain but death. And you can still not only face the fear of that, not only face the strength of that, but your ideal circumstances, you can win. The only facet to be considered is whether you can fear long enough to actually make the effort. Bloody Bill Anderson, Bleeding Kansas, Quantrill's Raiders. Those are your search terms. That is the rabbit for the week. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys going down that little rabbit hole with us. Hold into the rest of what I wanted to tell you. One other thing that I wanted to do, because I'm talking about lighting candles and lifting people up. I want to share once a week or once every couple weeks a little something that I'm doing, or a little shorts that I'm looking into in my own time. That's planting seeds, that's lifting, that's elevating me, that's expanding my perspective, that's making me re-examine my perspective. I have to listen to a podcast called The Cave Ideas. I don't know what your podcast. I am old school. I am iTunes, and I have a modified iPod with a 512 gig solid state hard drive. That's what I keep up on. I don't run things from the cloud, and I don't zap things through my phone and pull things from the cloud, because if you don't actually have a copy of it can be taken away at any time. I save these episodes in MP3 format, and in answer to your second question, yes, I do backup copies onto burnable DVDs. When I get to a certain level with my podcast collection, when I get certain levels with my music collection, I will burn it on one or more burnable DVDs. So I actually have a copy of that. So know what happens if solid copies are wiped out electronically. I have a backup. Anyway, I say all that to say I've been looking at a couple of ideas. For some of you, Ryan, I'm looking at you. Academy of Ideas is not gonna really for anything new. They go into the works of Carl Jung. They go into a lot of the works of the Stoics. Offer perspectives of types and how he reacts to those. They a little bit into Joseph Campbell and that kind of stuff. But for a lot of you who have been up to any of those things, it's really gonna hit them. And some of you that have been tangentially, that's my college word. I got like 3 of those. For you who have been tangentially exposed to that stuff, it may offer different perspective on the topic end. It puts a different set of eyes on it. It brings something like the psychology of fear, for instance, which we're getting into, and Academy of Ideas, I think, I want to say like a year ago, did the psychology of fear. It was like a 2-part thing that they did, and there was a lot of useful perspective in that. So no matter where you get your podcast, go check these guys out, Academy of Ideas. And periodically on my personal page and on my fan page, I'm going to be things, different courses, different things that I look at that help, for lack of a better word, that lift up, that lighting candles instead of pissing into the darkness, because there is literally there's just black pill negativity now that get overwhelming. There are a lot of podcasts that I've listened to at one point or another that I really enjoy, even ones that I still enjoy. For instance, like Dan Bongino, I really Doug, man, I'm glad you made it. Thank you. Bongino does a really good. The guy is really incisive. The guy, he's hard hitting. He pulls no punches. Ultimately, I cannot listen to that every day. I can't do it because, for lack of a better word, and with no apologies to you guys that are on the secular path, it's a matter of having to live in the world without having to be of the world, right? Like we went over the past couple of sessions. How much control do I really have over any of that? Do I think there's electoral fraud? Absolutely. Do I think that the 2020 elections at the very least rigged and stolen? Yes, I believe that. Do I think that all these prosecutions against Donald are entirely politically motivated? Yes. And I don't even think they're open for discussion when you actually ask the case. How much control do I have over that? Like we talked last week, is your name on the Epstein client list? No. Are you a U.S. senator? No. George Soros on speed dial? No. You really don't have much control over it. You should exercise as much as you have, right? You should vote. You should participate in the process. You should reach out to people. But as far as engaging knuckleheads, realize that you don't have any control over that, and don't expend your energy get spun up about it. Oh, I'm so messed up. God, he's going on down in Georgia, Yeah, it's crap. What they do to the man in Georgia, what they're doing to the man in New York City, it is abhorrent. It is absolutely, without equivocation, indicative that we are into a republic territory. Okay. It's not even something that's open, as I said, it's nothing that's open to discussion when you actually look at the things. But I don't have control over that. I don't. So get spun up about it every day, not constructive. Spending all that energy getting dialed into aggression and hostility and frustration, like, right, listening with no recourse is frustrating. Exactly. So how am I better served? I'm better served going out in my Sub-Zero crush and banging sets of bench presses, and then coming in and one up, and then jumping back out there, hanging out another couple sets of bench. I am better served reading a book that is going to expand my intellectual horizon. I am more served. I am better served. For instance, since we got Bill here, Bill gifted me that "Live Not by Lies," right? And it turns out, man, Bill, a buddy of mine actually knows Dreyer. He actually does. He actually knows Dreyer. And what's funny is, a buddy of mine is a hard leftist who lives up in Chicago. Actually knows Dreyer. Anyway, what serves me? Listening to Bongino and getting spun the hell of what's going on in Georgia or New York, right? Or down with a book called "Live by Lies," and listening how people who were literally tortured under communist regimes dealt with that and found strength in Christ to get through it. What better serves my interest? I am of the opinion that reading the book and absorbing that wisdom and putting a little more steel in my spine is going to serve me better than what they're doing down and I'm so mad. Okay, but what do you do? What are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? Be a part of the process for as much as you can be. All right. The black pill guys might as well not vote. Stupid man. Okay, bro. If it's really if that's where you feel like you are, went over last week. Went over last week. If you show up, you're not packing a rope or you're just talking shit. Okay, trying to get the language under control. You just talk noise. You're just talking noise. You don't have a rope or a rifle in your hand, and you're not standing up. Black pill people should just go away. And Roman, you know exactly the part I'm talking about. It's shameful to watch people otherwise intelligent. It is shameful to watch people who have so much to offer the movement, and who at one point were using those gifts to bring people up. What are they on? What is it really? Man, you won't not even vote, doesn't do any. What's really fear? Oh wow. Fear on a number of levels. Fear of what they might actually have to confront if they put their ass where their rhetoric is. They know that means that they're going to have to be the ones to set it off. That they're going to have to be the ones to hook up with a rope or rifle. They have to be the ones to take the initiative and be the front line. Now that they've given up on the ballot box, they're going to have to be the first ones to actually open the cartridge box. That by itself is fear. But here's what else. Here's what else. The fear. Maybe the rhetoric is wrong. The fear that actually looking at stuff is going to require them to change. For instance, since we're talking about the party in question, for all that noise, all that bumping of gums, where does this person live? What state? California? People's Republic of? Literally the most communist state in the Union, and he refuses to leave. Even though I both know if he were serious, the rhetoric, what he could get, the amount of money that he could get, that humble little place in California could set him up the rest of his life in a place like Montana or North Dakota if he was serious. What would that require? That would require change, and people fear nothing more than change. That would require admitting that every bit of the ideology into which you look, half of your life was in error. People are afraid of that. But what are people most afraid of? Admitting they were wrong. I was wrong. This was stupid. I need to change. Scares people more than anything else. Keeps them inside that box. That is what they're there for. Rogan is about to talk. Tom Bill, you behind just my taste. Close behind is Bart. I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that. I wish I had 100th the reach that Rogan does. But Rogan's been at it a lot longer, and he has learned the craft, and he has honed it. And we're going to talk about Rogan in a little bit. In fact, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to jump ahead in the conversation here, since we're on fear. The bag on Rogan. People that bag on guys like Jordan Peterson or Elon Musk, but Peterson primarily. I think they're being so edgy, right? In fact, what they're doing is following the mainstream narrative. I'm edgy, man. I'm like making jokes about that Jordan Peterson guy. Everybody likes. They're not being edgy. They're showing their fear. Back on a guy like Rogan, you're showing fear. Rogan's in the position he's in for a damn reason. He is legit the giver of interviews. He's the best interviewer in the game, period. Why? Because again, fear. He doesn't have anything. You can't cancel Joe Rogan. He's got the biggest podcast in the world. It wasn't always that way, and beauty of it. Before he became the biggest podcast in the world, before he got $100 million from Spotify. How did he get into the position to be the biggest podcast in the world and to get that $100 million from Spotify? Fearless. He would have anyone on that program. Anyone. People with the most controversial opinion and would ask them anything. Absolute fearlessness is what got him there. And people bag on him. Yeah, man, just another show like that people think is smart. Nobody ever said that. Nobody ever said that. The man is full. He's doing something that you're not. He is asking the questions he else has the balls to. He is saying the things that no one else has the balls to. And when you're picking on him, what you're doing is exposing your what? Fear. Your own fear. Because his throws your weakness into starker content. You have to pick on it. You have to shoot it down. You have to tear it because you can't rise to the occasion. Really, he sucks. He's a dumbass. All right, what's your latest hit, brother? Hey, guy that no one's ever heard of. Please, by all means, rail me with all the failings and shorts of this guy with the biggest podcast on the planet, $100 million contract from Spotify. It's your own fan. It's your own fear. Recently departed caretaker of his house, right? Little Billy Bong hitter, Pure Food, whatever. It's just fear. Another one of those, it's a good ball game, like the usual suspect we were just talking about. Yeah, man, fuck around and find out. Nothing's gonna change until they start dragging out and stringing them up. All right, cool. What are you doing? Don't lift. Don't do anything. For no less than 4 occasions. If you really have this in me and you really feel like you're being treated unfair, we just glove up and go out in the garage. 4 different occasions. Not gonna take me up on. You'll talk a mad ball game from behind a text keyboard about what a terrible person. That's cool, man. I legit do for you because you're weak. You're weak and inconsequential, and you're a fearful little punk. I don't have room for that in my life anymore. But I wish you the best. But all in is exposing your fear. It's all is exposing your fear. When people tear in Peterson, a man who has become de facto wise, the de facto father for a generation of men raised by women, who has literally bettered the life of hundreds of thousands. And I see that without a of exaggeration or hyperbole. He has improved the lives of hundreds of thousands of men. So when you start pissing on this guy's flame and come down, are you being edgy? Being afraid? That's your fear that he might be on. That's your fear that actually to what the man says or reading what man's written instead of just calling him whatever that Mad Owl guy called him. Saying he's this and saying he's that, and he's a dumb person's idea of a smart person and all these things. It's your fear, bro. It is your fear that if you look into it, I have to change. And I'm going to say this just from my own perspective. Again, you're on a secular path. That's you. I will tell you this about my return to the. I was listening. Finally. More to the point, I was hearing for three when he was calling me home. For at least 3 years, he was calling me home. Hearing, but I wasn't listening. Why? Fear. Fear that was rooted in pride. Okay, but today's sermon is not about pride. This is about fear. Fear that I might have to admit I could have been wrong. Fear to admit that some deep beliefs of mine could have been held in error. Fear to admit that I might need some changes on levels that I really wasn't ready to change. Again, a lot of that fear was pride, still fear. They go hand in hand. I think one kind of dovetails nicely with the other. And I believe, I am of the opinion, I've heard me say this here before, I think that cow should be one of the seven deadlies. What is he? Everybody refers to their attraction as the eighth wonder of the world. That should be the deadly sin. Cowardice. What is that? Joe has said many times his podcast changed life for the better. It's been an education point. Exactly, man. Why? Because he down the fear long enough to try something, man. Why is it that you have that crabs in a bucket print? Why is it that crabs in a bucket is such a strong phenomenon that when one tries to get out, everybody else want to drag him back in? Why is it that people say, dude, you take the chance. You're going to fail, bro. You're going to fail. They are trying to shed the fear that holds back by trying to push that fear onto you. I can't do it because I'm afraid. But if you do it, that not only shows me that I might have to change and get past my fear, but that shows me that I'm weak. Because you being strong has cast that weakness into a starker contrast. Y'all tracking? I really think we're having the sound problems right now, man, because I'm like so dialed in on like from the opener, first take on the opener, man. I'm dialed in on this, and I'm feeling it. Hate that we're having these sound problems. Doesn't matter. Keep it. What are we doing? People that are tearing those guys down. People that tear down Rogan, tear down Jordan Peterson. People that piss on Elon Musk, for that matter. Yeah, I'm an Elon Musk fanboy, of course, well known, well documented. But if you look at objectively, even if you don't dig him, look at all that, man, and all this stuff that he's done. He's done for the sake of the advancement of the species. What, for his own personal wealth? You know, the guy owned a home, right? I mean, literally, he could sleep in five hotels every night for the rest of his life. But he spends better than half the time sleeping on a couch in one of the business buildings of the half dozen businesses that he runs. He's doing it for the wealth. What the hell are you talking? The wealth is corollary, man. You want to look at somebody who's doing it for the wealth? Look at Bezos, man. Even Bezos, I'm not going to hate on them. He literally changed that commerce is done forever, and started a little office system. Hell, his monitor at the time, early 90s, his monitor was bigger than my old computer. So he didn't have a whole lot of room in that closet office. But y'all are trying, man. I don't have to agree with the man ticks. The dude is accomplished stuff, man. You're gonna piss off because his success makes you question the nature of your. Am I poor because Jeff Bezos is rich? Am I poor because Elon Musk is a billionaire? No, I'm poor because I make bad life decisions. I'm a lot less poor these days because I'm better life decisions. You see how this works? But even those life decisions, getting back to that fear. When Ryan called me, and Ryan, if you're still there, you back me up on. When Ryan called me, I was a support driver for the railroad. I probably told the story before. I don't care. My sermon, dope. I was a support driver for the railroad. I was sitting in the yard over here in Hauser, Idaho, waiting to pick up a crew. And he called me. And I'd be kind of tugging at his sleeve. Hey, man, I want to learn this crane stuff. Hey, man, I want this crane stuff. And he called me. And I'm not the first person over the years that he's given that opportunity to. Believe it. Far from it. He said, hey, I know you've been wanting to learn this stuff. I'm out here on a wind farm. in Nebraska right now. You're gonna break your fucking for a year, but you're gonna get seat time out here with. I'm gonna show you stuff, and in the meantime, you're gonna get paid. But I need one word, yes or no. I need one word, yes or no. You know what happens if I say no? No, nothing. That's the whole point. Anybody who is a part of that journey with me, Charlie, if you're still here, Ryan, if you're still in that moment, I took a look and said, am I okay where I'm at? Realistically, the answer was yes. I was okay with where I was at. But I knew I could be so much. And I said yes. And 3 days later, I was in Nebraska. And now, 3 years later, I haven't done the actual math yet. I'm waiting for the W-2s to come in. But I fell just shy of clearing 6 figures last year. I took a phone call, made a life change in the period of 3 days. And 3 years later, my whole world is different. My whole world improved exponentially. Why? Because in that moment, I felt that twinge of what? Fear. Oh, better believe I felt it. Better believe I felt it. What if I'm wrong? What if it all gets sideways? What if I'm not up to the challenge? I'm going to disappoint Ryan. Ryan's name on me. I'm going to make him look bad. I'm going to disappoint all that are counting on me. But in that moment, I took a look at it, and I was like, you know what? This is something that Coach Tony, our man, fear system. Fuck fear. Fuck fear. And I put that to the side, and I made a move with it. You know what I get? You know what I get from a lot of the naysayers? Bro, you sure about this? And it's kind of a big move. Hold on, down talkers, man. Hold down talkers. I will say, the person who didn't down talk me for a second, that was my wife, Charlie. Not for 1 second. Baby, I trust you. I believe in you. You do what you have to do. Bang. Where credit is due, man. But all the naysayers looking at it 3 years later, yeah, well, be nice, dude. I'm glad you can go see that show. I'm glad you go take that, long period of time off. I'm glad you can like holidays to yourself, with all that money in the bank. Must be nice. It is. That I let my balls drop, and you're gonna go through life scared. What do we go into? What do we go into in the opener? What do we go into in the opener? The reasons of our own making, trapped in our own heads. Remember, everything that you want is on the other side of. Sounds like a platitude. It's not, because I knew what I wanted, and it was on the other side of that fear, and I pushed through. I know people who are way more intelligent than me, exponentially more intelligent than me, younger than me, stronger than me, way more equipped to deal with this stuff. That wouldn't have made that move. Careful about feeling sympathy for these people. I mean, you have a certain level of compassion for your on stuff like that. It is a drag that they have chosen to live their lives in mediocrity. They've chosen to live themselves by fear. And I understand why people do it. I understand why people do it, because I've done it myself. I've let things outside myself control me with fear, level me with fear, emasculate me with fear, demoralize me with fear. I've done it. So I don't judge. And I do feel bad for these people. Stood in the same way that I understood taking a needle out of my arm more than a quarter century ago. I understood the only thing that was going to put me, that was me. That I didn't understand at the time before my return to the faith was that somebody had my back. And without proselytizing even all way, I'm going to tell you something that has been a source of even greater comfort, that has made me even more open to taking those necessary risks toward expanding my horizons. So I turn to the faith, because I know no matter what, I know no matter what, Boss Man's got my back. Boss Man's got my back, and for the kids got the playbook, man. Why would I not take that risk? Why would I not take that chance? To be controlled by cowards like to profess fear. People who really know that they're fear, and you know what you must do despite the fear. And I'm gonna come back to that. You're absolutely spot on correct. You're absolutely spot on correct. You guys look into, speaking of, because I got to sing Coach Tony praises. Brother James Pearson. I don't know if you're Tony Blauer, Spear System. 90%. I'm gonna say of the Spear System is fear management. The physical end of it is a very small portion. It's a very important portion. But 90% of that is fear management. Here. Management. Getting back to the opener, man. Yes, Roman. This is going to people will make fun of it, right? Every time you release a song, everyone's going to hate it and they'll think I'm stupid, and you release it anyway. There you go. That's what it takes. What are people afraid of? Fear of failure. Fear of failure. You ever failed before? Oh, never failed before. You've been 100% successful all this time, and you're worried about breaking your lucky streak? Failed all over the place. But again, I'm a failure, and everyone will make fun of me. And that's fear. That's fear. I'm not gonna rise to their standard. Whose standard? Their standard. Back to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Are they gonna be there for you? No. Why do you care? That's one thing about Roman, man. Roman don't give a damn. Trying to get my language under control, man. Roman don't give a damn. You put it out there. Throw out a painting, throw out a song. You put that video together, and you're working with that musical project down there. Everything. Put all his resources into it. I don't care. Win, lose, or draw. I'm gonna throw it out there. What's the worst that happens? I fail. Dovetailing into Tony Blauer. This is going to bring me to one of the things I already cover in the opener, right? Not so much to Kitty Genovese. Kitty, again, we went into how it works on a personal level, a social level. Kitty Genovese, yeah, that's something that we actually have a debate on with regard to fear. But Albert DeSalvo, the Boston strain, this little sawed off nebbish, this little nothing, right? Things that Coach Tony asked in one of his early seminars. He's like, wait a minute. He was like, if a guy, and he gave the specs and everything, he said, this guy kind of comes at you and he flashes a knife and actively threaten you with the knife, or maybe he didn't have a weapon at all, and he threatens you with that. Are you going to resist? And the women all said no. The guy described was Albert DeSalvo, the Boston Strangler. Here's the beauty of it. Again, going from a personal level to a social level. Salvo, after he was captured, said that the number one fear that he had was being caught or detention. If any woman resisted, he broke off the attempt. If a woman offered any resistance whatsoever, if they raised their voice, if they tried to draw attention, if they physically resist him. They just screamed. He broke it off. Think about that for a minute. Those 13 that we know of that he killed, and the up to three times as many suspect he may have not have to die. They died in what? They died in their own fear. Is that fear understandable? Absolutely. Not judging those women. Learn from their mistake. What they had to do was raise their voice. In that moment, they didn't even have the courage to raise. There's a Matt Thomas that Saul Solis and I worked with. Used to just called model mugging. Now, you know, Matt got off some other people. That's beside the point. One of the things that Matt did in his studies, he looked at it that in almost 8% of the cases of abuse, men sexual women, in almost 80% of the cases, the women capitulated to the verbal threat. The women capitulated to the verbal threat. And I'm going to tell you something that I adapted from Matt Thomas's work. Some of the things that I did before I got with Coach Blau. We would line, and it's something that I saw Matt Thomas do. The muggers are in the suits, the ones who were getting the roles of soldiers. The first thing we did, line these women up, and go down the line. And this sounds like a horrible thing, but I want you to hear the irony of what I'm saying. We would line up the wall, and we would go person by person, talking about the horrible things that we were going to do to them, talking about what we had, where we were going to put it, and what we were going to do to their kids when they were done. These women were horrified. And a lot of people listening to this go, "Oh my God, that's a horrible thing to do. You're a monster. You're a beast. You're a terrible person." I'm going to tell you something. They came in Friday. They experienced that. By the time they walked on Sunday, these women were born. Why? Because they had been introduced to something that they had never been into before. Why did they capitulate to the threat? Why? Polite society, men don't talk to women like that. Oh, you get calls. "Oh, it's a great ass. You got the perfect rack, honey." But in polite society, generally speaking, don't walk up to women on the street and go, "I have this equipment. I'm going to put it in this order, and there's not a damn thing you're going to be able to do about it." Not something that happens. So the very time that happens, what do women do? They capitulate. Fear and Sonny, that sounded familiar. Inoculating them that fear. And it sounds like a really horrible thing to do. But Matt Thomas, in his day, when he was in his classes, they went back and they found 100 of the women that had gone through those classes that later became victims of sexual assault. Out of those 100, only 3 had been, and I hate to put these two together, only 3 had been successfully. 2 of them were beaten so badly that they had to be hospitalized, and the third one had a gun to the head and made the conscious decision to capitulate. And I'm horrible for not women to live fear like that. Odd. Fear and the way it messes itself. Yes, he was absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of fear, Tommy, dude, you get up there, buddy, get up there. And I'm glad that you mentioned that too, because that led me to the skydiving analogy that we made last week. We talked a lot about, Tommy and I used to jump out of planes together, ones that weren't even on fire, and talk about everything you want being on the other side of fear. I made it a motto. Just get out the door. Do you trust your equipment? Do you trust your preparation? Do you trust your training? Yes. Just get out the door. You will figure it out. And if you die spectacularly. Just get out the door. When out the door, you were past that threshold of fear. You were giving yourself no option. When I made that decision, when I took that call from Ryan, and I changed my life, and I moved to Nebraska on 3 days' notice. Just get out. What could go wrong? I could break down on the way. I could not be up to the challenges. I could hurt myself on the job. I could not rise to what was to me for the job. What if I'm not up to this? What if I suck at running cranes? Just get out the door. Just get out the door. Figure out. Because now past the threshold of fear, giving yourself no option. And most people, when they have option, will exhaust every possibility quest to find a solution. Fear enables them to stay in the hole. Getting to the principle of don't stay in that hole the amount of time you spent digging it. The tyranny of an armed man, speaking with regard to this. There were studies that were done in the 70s with regard to armed assailants and multiples, right? Those studies were done in a number of situations where a guy, one assailant, getting back to that bullet tyranny of a single guy with a knife. This is where we're crossing the threshold from fear on an individual level to fear on a level to fear on a cultural level. One guy took a whole room of people hostage. Some cases there were a dozen people. Some cases I think the biggest was like 18 group of 18 were taken hostage by one person with a knife. You think about that. 18 people in a room with a guy with a knife. No matter what room you're in, there's probably, if you're in an office, chairs. If you're in any kind of room, there's probably some sort of furniture. If you're janitor's closet, there's buckets. And you have a half dozen people, and you've got one with a knife. How the hell does that happen? How does 6 people not look and put their heads together and go, dude, we can take this guy? Because people don't think about it on a social level. People don't think about it on a cultural level. People don't even think about it on a group level. They think of the fear on an individual level. If we rush him, thinking on that group level, we rush him, one of us or some of us could get hurt. But it is guaranteed that we'll overwhelm him. You're not about it. You were thinking about it on an individual level. What is going to happen to me? I could get stabbed. Not we could get stabbed. Not we could overwhelm him. I could get stabbed. Back to that fear. And again, I say, just get a door. How do you suppose? I'm going to take you back to a 70s movie soundbite for him. You guys remember the Warriors? You remember Cyrus? Remember Cyrus from the war? Can you dig it? You remember Cyrus? What did he say? Talking about the gangs. You guys remember that open scene where they're all in truce and all the gangs from all the city, they all meet in Central Park, and Cyrus starts talking about the tens of thousands of gang members and said, They ain't but 2,000 cops in the whole freaking city, and you dig it. That is the same as the tyranny of the one guy with the knife against a room full of people. That is the tyranny of a regime that nobody wants. That is an unmitigated disaster on every level and every standard of measure. Holding on to power. Why? Because people do not think collectively that is going to happen to me. So, that usual suspect. Oh, you have to see the movie. But with regard to that usual suspect that we're talking about, I understand. I'd have more respect for him if he admitted it. I understand his fear. I'm not going to say because I could get hurt. For all his Larian talk about we, there is an I. The fear is always rooted in I. And guess what? Only I above that fear. It's a God, not with me. I have to make the decision to ride that fear. I have to do that. That is what I meant by the tyranny of a single man with a blade. The tyranny of a single man with a blade. Getting back to the tyranny of the Union versus Confederacy. Oh, that was actually of that script. Controls Raiders, Bloody Bill Anderson. He was on the receiving end of that. He was the single guy wife, but he was fighting a defensive war, and it still wasn't enough. Make him fear superior forces. He stood up and he rose to the challenge. Any one of in any of these things in that studies that they did in the 1970s. Any of them could have individually. We're all going to run. Think about September 11th. Again, you believe the official narrative. And we're going to take all the others, we're going to put them in a box, and we're just going to set those over to the side for a minute. If you believe the official narrative, how could an entire plane full of people be held hostage by a bunch of knuckleheads? So, I mean, look at Muhammad Atta. He was like, what, 5'5", 120 pounds? Four guys per plane with box cutters. Why? Everybody felt the fear on the individual. Again, conceding the official narrative. Right? Just sake of, we're just going to concede the official narrative from Flight 93 notwithstanding. Let's roll. As long as we're sticking with the official narrative, what happened to the one group of people that said, screw, we're going to bum rush these sons of bitches. We're not afraid. Again, sticking official narrative, that plane crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. You know what it didn't do? Crash in the White House or the Capitol building or any of the other targets where it might have been headed. Again, sticking with the official narrative for the sake of question. You understand the point that I'm making. You want to know what's happened if me and Tommy are on a commercial flight somewhere and some 5'5" nothing with a box cutter stands up and says he's taking over the flight? We're going to land on time. And when the TSA, FBI come charging onto the freaking plane and ask where the terrorist is, I will explain to them that he is folded up in an overhead bin on aisle 20, quite dead. And then I'm going to finish my set, because if I save a flight from some jackass that stands up box cutter, bet your ass I'm smoking, and I don't care how you feel about it. I digress. Really? Hey, I was not aware of that, Tommy. I was not aware of that. We're gonna have a conversation about that. Going into the home stretch here, two fear that I want to cover on a level. Right. Last bullet points that I had: the Asch experiments, Milgram experiments, and the Calhoun experiments. You guys know we are in a war for the soul of the West. We are in a war. Soul of the West. Let me pre more time for you guys in the back. We are a war for the soul of the West. Where is it headed? How does this turn out? I can't call it. There's some things I want to touch on with regard to fear. Some famous experiments that fear tied directly into. You guys are aware of the Asch conformity experiments. Solomon Asch. The people who were the subject of this experiment did not realize that they were being subject to an experiment. What they thought was that they were looking into a room full of people who were all part of this test group. This group of people was asked questions. 3 lines. It's A, B, is it longer? And it was obvious that A was the longest line. But everybody else in the room said B. Test subject, not knowing that he was a test subject, would look at what he's saying, and he would go on, even though he knew it was right. He second guessed himself, rooted in fear of nonconformity, fear of being outside the in group, fear of making a ruckus, fear of rock boat. People couldn't get past that fear, and so they repeated things that were obviously not true because the rest of the group was saying that that's true. What is that rooted in? It's not fear. But you know what they found? And again, how does that translate culturally? Look at how they used to manipulate us during the COVID pandemic. Say what you want about it. I'm not even going to have the discussion. There is no difference for the official. This don't. Well, if we think about it, stop. Because I'm not going to you on this. There is zero defense remaining for the official narrative and the official policy with regard to it. The shut, the sick rule, even Fauci admitted was like completely made up. He finally admitted it. Fauci in the same interview pretty much admitted what he had was not true about the lab leak and about masking. That's right. Even she. Masks on the whole no good. There is no defense. None, zero, zip, zed, nada. For the official response to COVID. None. But we're not here to talk about that because there is no talk. We're here to talk fear and the way that it was employed to make these things happen. We're here to talk about fear, and the way employed to make people think that shopping in a mom and pop business was somehow harmful to their health, but Walmart with 10 times the people, not socially distanced, was harmful to their health. Fear. They knew. They knew it was a lie. They knew that when you set up an outside dining area surrounded by a tent that wasn't technically inside, to get around the rules about you couldn't have but so many tables inside for the dine, that is still technically inside. Therefore, there is no change, and you're just being required to jump through hoops for no reason. Anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together could see what bullshit this was from the very beginning. And yet, churches wouldn't let the parishioners gather on Easter Sunday because the gov told them they couldn't. Fear. That fear worked on a whole lot of levels. Fear of how you were going to be perceived. Fear of legal consequences. In the state of California, they were cutting people's water and power off. Do you know that if that's done in any other place, it's considered a crime against humanity? Ask Amnesty International or the United Nations. If you shut people's water and power off as a measure, it is considered a war crime or a crime against humanity. But not when Governor Newsom does it. Governor Newsom would shut up people's water and power while he was having private dinners, unmasked, unsocial distance at high-profile establishments, thinking nobody was going to. We're not here to talk about COVID. Could talk about COVID. It was all bullshit. We're here to talk about the fear. We're here to talk about the way that they instituted fear. The experiments, the Asch experiments played into that. The fear of not conforming, even though you knew it was bullshit. The actual direct legal consequences, the actual direct consequences, that's not what drove it. People were afraid of not of being perceived by their neighbors as being selfish, as being a grandma killer, as at the very least part of the herd. One of us, one of us. Wear your mask. Wear your mask. You guys should probably go back and take a look at the body snatchers from the 1970s. Lloyd Sutherland. Oh, that one. But here's what's shaking. The Asch experiments. They show us one of the ways that they are to control us going forward. Where they show the ways that they are prepping and actively working for the downfall of the West. And what is it rooted in? Fear. We have to stand up unafraid and speak truth. Not in spite of the fact that it goes against the herd, but if for no reason then cause the fact that against the herd. Walk in truth, the number one direct. What about the Milgram experiments? I like that, Joey. The Milgram experiments. Stanley Milgram, wondering how a civilized society, we talked about it briefly in the opener, and how otherwise civilized societies wind up totalitarianism. That, of course, being the Russian and Chinese, not the Nazis. But Milgram wondered how a civilized society could be so easily swayed. And it does come down to fear. Fear of consequences, fear of not being part of the herd, whatever it is, makes people reluctant to disobey orders when then there is a semblance of authority. Are you guys familiar with the Milgram experiments? Let me give you just a brief down. You guys go ahead and do your research with regard to that. No, don't do your own research. That's bad. They told us during COVID. In any case, the Milgram experiments. Brief rundown. Guy sits in. He's got 20 switches. Each switch is gradually higher voltages. And the lab coat with the clipboard would ask a question to a person on the other side of the wall. Every time that person gave an incorrect answer, this guy sitting in the chair was told to administer a shock. Each time he went to the next level, and the shocks got higher and higher and higher. The man in the lab coat with the clipboard was allowed to say three things. One was, please continue. I think the second was, you continue. And I think the third one was, the experiment requires that you continue. So there was no force exercised. Nobody said either you hit those switches, I'm going to shoot you. Nothing. And the guy had no more authority than a lab coat and a clipboard. Oh, how appropriate, since we were just in the COVID epidemic. Oh, you got a lab coat and a clipboard. You must be the authority. We'll do whatever we're told. Yes, Miss Daisy. I won't be thinking. Guy in the lab coat and clipboard. What happens? Every time he administers a shock, the guy on the other side of the room is like, hey, ow, ow. By the time you get halfway down, the shocks are at a level where it's clearly marked on this board. Physical injury result. He gives a wrong answer. Guy hits that switch, and you scream it on the side of that wall. Please, for the God, let me out of here. This hurts. And the guy hesitates, and the guy in the lab coat says, the experiment requires that you continue. The last switch on the end of that switchboard, lethal voltage. So as it goes up, the guy is screaming on the other side of the wall because the shock's more and more intense. And then finally, you hit the last two switches. There's no response. Why? Because the guy on the other side of the wall is dead. That's right. You just all the way to a lethal dose and killed a complete strange face you have never seen. But a guy in a lab and a clipboard said, the experiment requires that you continue. I believe it was 70% who were willing to go all the way to the lethal charge. Almost 100% carried it well into harm. Hardly anybody stepped away. Here's news. The guy on the other side of the wall wasn't really getting shocked. He was an actor. The person on this side of the wall didn't know that. Well, they knew they had just killed a stranger whose face they had never seen. And all because a person in a lab coat with a clipboard told them the experiment requires that you continue. When we're looking at the fate of the West, you want to talk about fear? Turn in your neighbors. Report any who's wearing a MAGA hat. Why? Why should I do that? Even when they send people into prison camps, even when there's a growth of a de facto Stasi with the FBI and the Merrick Garland Department, the regime will tell you the safety democracy requires that you continue. Oh, you think they do it, huh? No, you don't think they do it? Oh, okay, right. Just ponder that for a minute. I'm just gonna leave that sitting there for a minute. You don't think they do it, right? Certainly not if it was a rise of the beast system. They certainly wouldn't take the mark. They certainly wouldn't take the chip in their hand or in their forehead. But they wouldn't even refuse a jab. I think they're going to refuse the request when consequences might be higher. Turn in your right-wing extremist friends, or there will be consequences. Family, dude, I can tell you right now. Probably a couple even watching this podcast right now. The minute it flips, they're going to turn me in just out of sight. Fear. Because again, back to the tyranny of the one guy with the knife. They're not thinking in terms of they can't. We all stand together, can't take us. They don't think in terms of that. What's going to happen to me individually? Now, I'm a big fan of collectives. In fact, I think we could get by with a very small collective. I think probably about 3%. Thinking. But those are two types of fear that they're actively working towards with regard to dismantling the West going forward that required intervention. Those are ones that actually they need to directly push on you. They need to play on your fear of nonconformity. They need to play on your fear of personal consequence. They need to play on your fear of the possible consequences of defying some ancient authority. These are ways that they hit you direct. I'm going to hit you with the third. We're on Asch, and you know the three that I'll bring it up because the Asch experiments, the Milgram experiments, and the Calhoun experiments at the National Institutes of Mental Health, the real secret of NIM, the mouse utopia. There's a lot of wisdom to be found across the board for those three, but where it plays back into the fear. The first two are come down on you directly. The fear of not being part of the herd, the fear of direct consequence. Here's the thing where the Calhoun effect speaks to me most with regard to where West. See, Calhoun at the Institutes of Mental Health, he created the mouse utopia. You guys can do a deep dive on Calhoun experiments, mouse utopia, whatever. And he put these mice under ideal conditions, and he put himself in the place of a mouse. If I were a mouse, what would I want? What would be paradise if I were a mouse? And John Calhoun built this massive experiment that was supposed to be perfect for the mice, taking care of their every need. They want nothing. They struggle for nothing. They're fed. They're housed. They're climate controlled. Everything's beautiful. But because, as Jordan Peterson pointed out with lobsters, there are hierarchy among mice, that we are in fact not equal, that there are always hierarchies of strength, hierarchies of cops, hierarchies of social value. They were all given this utopia, and what happened? There's still going to be the hierarchy. And the ones that weren't the alpha, the dropouts. And what happened? All these beautiful conditions, these utopian conditions that he created for mice, because they had no adversity, turned to things, and I am not exaggerating here. They turned to bending. Am I just doing this to make a point of gender politics? No, I am. Look up the experiment. Look what happened. Growth in absolute degeneracy, laziness, criminal violence. Why is this happening? We've given them everything that they want. Here that plays into, because that's what the prop industry is trying to convince us. We're wonderful right now. All of the things that are going on right now are just part of highest expressions of our civilization. There's nothing wrong with that. We're working towards equity. We're working toward diversity, and we all know diversity is our greatest strength. All this gender stuff, this lunacy, people being able to express themselves. Where's the harm? I'm going to say a 50% suicide rate, but where's the harm? Plays on two levels. Number one, we are afraid of the system, but more to the point, we are afraid to speak what we know to be the truth. When they are gaslighting us and lying to our faces, they want us to believe that they are creating a utopia. That what they have done for the black community, eliminating the presence of fathers in the homes and making state the de facto father, has been nothing but beneficial for the black community. If you disagree with that, you're a racist. That are to ignore the evidence of our own eyes and ears, to watch our military falling apart, adopting woke measures instead of focusing on the military should, which is just lethality. People like Bill Hicks up in my face because they know that I love the man as a comedian. The bit that he did, why do you care about gays in the military? Aren't you guys just a bunch of killers? He was right. And because they are just a bunch of killers, I want the most killing force on the ground because that's what a military is there for. We are losing our country. Our economic power is slipping. Our board wide the hell open, and they are insisting that they have created utopia. And a lot of the woke mob are willing to parrot that. So how does that play into fear? Because we are afraid to speak the truth we can see with our eyes, and that plays right back into how we are going to be perceived by others. Let me ask you something. Since we're dealing simply in terms of you call me a homophobe, you might have called me a penguin. Seriously, it doesn't affect me because I know I'm not. You call me a homophobe, It doesn't affect me because I'm not homophobe. You call me a transphobe, it doesn't affect me because I've seen more trans women than you've ever met. See, you're not going to guilt me with that. It works. Perception. Fear. They want that fear. Let me ask you something. Even if exceptions, even if these names were correct, looking at where we're at, this mouse utopia that they're insisting that they've created, would you rather be racist or dead? Rather be transphobic or roll over and let a state slowly mutilate your children without even having to consult you? Oh, you're being out of no, I'm 11 dates right now. 11. Get up. Perform gender affirming surgeries on without parental consent. 11 states. Look it up. So would you rather be homophobic or have your son mistake think that you have an oppressive household, let total strangers just pull him up, put him in a shelter, and cut his cock off? I'm not exaggerating. Would you rather be transphobic, or would you rather have that happen? Would you rather be racist and acknowledge high crime areas and FBI criminal justice statistics, or would you be dead? You understand how this works? That is the final fear they will play on. They will convince you that you be a happy little mouse. We've created a mouse utopia for you. If you don't like it, there's something wrong with you. We put you under ideal conditions. Yeah, but I'm one of those sharp mice that look around and go, "Wow, I understand you had the intentions, but this whole place is going to hell in a handbasket, my friend. It's fucked." Sorry, still trying to get the language under control. This is fucked, and you're going to have to be absolutely unafraid in being able to step up and say so. No other alt exists. Right? Death at the end, fortunately. For us. So what have we learned about fear, boys and girls? We learned about fear. Fear is a lie. Fear will keep you in mediocrity. Fear will keep you in obscurity. Fear will keep you in a perpetual state of self-limitation. What limitation? Self-limitation. What? Self-limitation. Why? Because that fear is not only a liar, but it is a lie. All of these things that you think you're afraid of. We were having this kind of discussion last week. Julie, who hopefully is still here, who's still here. We had a chat later on a post on Facebook. Once you get out the door and you land after that first tandem, you think back of how afraid you were. Remember what we talked about this week, that when we meet the devil, when we see the face of the devil, we're going to be embarrassed that this is what brought nations, that this is what brought down men. We're going to be embarrassed because that thing that we were afraid of is so pathetic. That's how you feel land that first parachute. Even if it's a tandem rig and it's actually landing the damn thing, you're just kind of scooting in on your butt. Tom, you remember Dennis? Here's a little about fear and perception of fear. Dennis, the guy that I did my first three. Well, Dennis was one of a kind. He would tie a sock through his helmet so rabbit ears flopping, but when he was in free fall. He had been longer than I'd been alive. That's right. He started ground rigs military in '67. I wasn't born in '69. He had over, what was it, Tommy? 11,000, I think, 11,000 free fall chute jumps. Not counting the tandems, not counting the training, counting this military round rig stuff, any of that. You know, he died. Motor vehicle accident within inside of the zone. That's part of the lie of fear. Fear is in your perception. You perceive that things, and people will play that. People will exercise that against you. They will play on your fear. They will play lack of perspective. They will play on that perception. In any case, when you touch down, see, Tommy, I didn't know that you sold him that bike. I did not know that. I'm sorry. Maybe that was a bad form bringing that up. Point being, when you touch down that first tandem, you scoot in on it, and you look up, and you see where you come, and you see that plane land, and you stand up, and you were okay, and you start looking. All of the fears that went through your head that spun you up, that made it difficult for you to even get out to the drop zone, let alone get on the plane, strap yourself into a tandem where a complete stranger on your backpack. All these things that scare me when you touch down. Part of why it changes you. Part of why it's so exhilarating, because you look back at fear, everything that spun you up, and you think to yourself, man, that was some punk shit. I was afraid of that. It's one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I put it off this long. I was afraid of that. And this is how the metaphor works. Being past that fear will change your entire life. That's skydiving. Remember what we talked about earlier, Roman, about every time you put out every time you write a song, you're afraid. No, there's about releasing it, because you have that very thing where you think everybody's gonna get it and they're gonna laugh at you. Or every time you do a painting, you think that it sucks and they're gonna laugh at you and things like that. Skydiving, I mean, it works a pretty powerful metaphor. Once you land that first one, especially once you get through training, you start jumping solo on your own. You're like, it'll change your whole perspective on fear, man. I just stepped out of an airplane 2.5 miles up that way. I just stepped out of an air. It wasn't even on fire. And I plummeted 14,000 feet. And I deployed a big piece of cloth over my head. And I was down and I landed. And I'm alive. And I jumped out of an airplane 2.5 miles in the air. And I'm alive. Oh, and you're going to hire me? Ooh. You're gonna say my joke stupid? Ooh. You're gonna make fun of me and call me a bad person because of who I voted for. Ooh. You understand, Dan? Everything that you want, every bit of greatness is on the other side of that fear, and it's the smallest fears. It's the smallest, little, tiniest fears that will hold you up. That would be the most struggle to come. Those are the ones that it's most important to overcome. And a lot of those fears are rooted in pride. There are moves that you could make. Got your own things holding you back, and some of the things might be rooted in fear that the person that it's actually manifest isn't even responsible for. You understand? Tracking? You are still afraid because of something somebody else did to you, and you are putting that on someone's having to pay the consequences for a fear that somebody else created. That's your own pride, and that's rooted in your own inability to assess and apply the proper perspective. Fear. See it for the it is and put it aside. No matter how bad it hurts, no matter what it may cost you, the accomplishment. I swear to you on my life, the accomplishment and the enlightenment that will be on the other side of that fear. And some of those things are very, very, very real. Some of those things you need to be afraid of, because some of those consequences hurt. Some of those consequences can cost you relationships. Some of those consequences can cost you friendship, family. Some of those consequences cost you your life. But just like when I sat in the road yard waiting for that crew, and I got that single phone call from Ryan, he said, "I need one word from you, yes or no." You know what happens? What happens if you don't chance? Nothing. Mediocrity or greatness. The barricade between the two of them is fear. You choose which one you want to reach for. You choose the life that you create or life that you settle for. You choose. As for me, the beauty of the faith is knowing no way I go, boss man's got my back. I fear nothing. Do I fear? Oh yeah. Do I feel it? Yeah. Do I give into it? Why? 365 times in scriptures, it is stated clearly, 165 times in the scriptures, do not be afraid. When you look into other manifestations, how to say don't be afraid, have no fear in the face of adversity, this, that, and the other thing, in the technicalities, it gets to the thousands. If I'm walking truth and I'm walking in life, I am afraid. Now that is my faith, because I'm walking with the boss man and the carpet kid. Maybe for you're on a secular, but if you're walking in the light of truth, there isn't to be afraid of. Because even if you die righteously. You die standing on principle. You die for right. You die for liberty. You die for the highest of ideals. Manifested west, unapologetic. If I die kingdom. Of all the ways to go out, I'll take it. I'm the Reverend, the gospel. I'm going to close with a prayer real quick. Lord God, the fears that we confront every day are very, very real. In this home stretch, going into this, they're going to get even more real. Consequently, manifest themselves in ways that are even more hurtful. I ask that you help us reach down and find the courage to stand in these adversities. I ask you to help us find the courage, face the minions of the deceiver and the adversary boldly, in the same way that you're face being scourged, tortured, and murdered, and yet even he felt cold by the fear in the Garden of Gethsemane. May we model our behavior in the face of that fear on him, looking at the fate that he knew coming. He said to you, Father, if there be any way for this to pass, I ask that you take it from me. But he said, in the way that we want to live, and the final analysis comes down to what he said in a moment of fear. Ultimately, thy will, not mine, be done. Lord God, I ask that you help us find a way to be bold in the face of adversity, no matter how small, no matter how going forward, that you help us find strength and call fear out for the Lord it is, and the tool of the liar and father of lies that it is, that we may live boldly, give glory and honor you. I pray in the name of the risen Christ, whom I ever serve. Amen. I love y'all, man. I love y'all. Sound problems, I'm gonna back and do the review on the video, take a look at exactly how bad they are. Hopefully they weren't too overwhelming, as it did stay through to the very end. I appreciate it. I really did it, man, because I would feel this one, man. I was feeling this one, like deep down, just feeling it. Man, from the minute I jumped into this, I was like, bang, on. And even you guys that were here for the first hour before I had to go with my little do over, man. I was loaded for bear, man. I was on it. So but again, on the level of diversity, a few sound problems. It's nothing. Few sound problems. It's nothing. We got a little echo. Okay, whatever. A lot of you guys, man. You did hang out, and I appreciate. I'm gonna pat a collection plate. If you guys want to kick down something on Facebook, pay cash mode, all that. But you guys know the drill. It's sitting up that. It's sitting about that, man. I would love to one day to where this is a self-sustaining effort to where I put all my heart and soul into this and not have to worry about keeping things like a day job. It's real. I mean, I feel called. I feel called to lift people, to spread that word. It's had a very profound impact on my own life, and I want to bring it light. I want to help other people that are candles, man. I want to help lift people up who are lifting themselves. Meantime, it's not about that. What you can do for me, though, man. Again, like I always say, we are still reluctantly living in a Biden economy. No around that. Hopefully not, but for another year. Yeah. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go out with some clutch like we always do. A little shot of Fort Sun. By the way, if you guys aren't familiar with Neil Fallon and Clutch, you guys need to ask some. This is the best version of Fortune Sun ever. Period. Bar none. No discussion. Clutch. And speaking of preachers, I swear, I'm like a tent revival preacher fronting the rock band and see Clutch live. They're live. Anyway, guys, here's what you can do for me, man. You got your own social media platforms, your own Facebook page, Twitter. You might not want to this one with all the sound problem things, but let people know. Fat Toothless Cripple, Crane out with some opinions. Gives a little hour rant every Sunday. He's a like-minded, a kindred. Yeah. For all my, go check him out. For all my my Reverend Rangers, my sinner sisters out there, I appreciate you being here. Spread the word, man. Yeah, just got to save from the prison planet. Speaking of I love it, man. Very clever bringing that one up, man. Very well made, sir. But here's what you guys can do for the meantime. Between time, you can share it on your social media platforms. You can kick down some coin into the collect plate. That's cool. What you can do for me and what you can do for yourselves. And following in faith, you can do it for the boss man and the carpenter kid. The stone, as he's very, very fond. Live the three, baby. Live the three. What's the three? It's the three prime directives. The prime directives, man. Signal the noise was all messed up. Signal through the noise. They will try to be you with the noise. Convince you that all exists is in the noise. That's a lie. Just like fear. That lie. Gotta be that signal that punches through the noise, man. Get through all the beat and carry the light of truth. You got to be that light in a world. They'll try to bury you with the darkness, demoralize you, humanize you, mutilate you with that darkness. Convince you that's all it is. They'll try to bury it. You got to be that light is through the darkness. Please be the third, the iron rule. Got to be that strength in a world full of weakness. I'm talking about this kind of stuff, but also strength here, and here. Got to be that, because without that, guess what? Without that strength, you won't be able to punch that signal noise. Without that strength, you won't be able to carry light through the darkness. So strength is the iron. Live the three, man. Appreciate you guys being in here. Coming back some Sunday, man. I try to honor guys by bringing something to you guys. Honor me by being here. Appreciate every damn one. God bless you all. I love y'all, man. Thank you so much. See you next Sunday, guys. Thanks again, y'all. Thank you. Now let's see how bad the echo was.